Hey guys, welcome to the Community Difference Plano. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking with Rick Cinclair and Marshall Jackson, part of the 2022 Plano ISD Future Forward Task Force. This November, you've got an opportunity to be able to vote on some very important bond proposals, which, as you as a Plano citizen, especially if you're a Plano parent in Plano ISD, you're definitely going to care about. We're going to talk about that. Stick around for that. Also, the 19th annual huge event, the Plano International Festival, coming up this October. We'll talk with Adler. She's going to give us all the details. Stick around. You won't want to miss a show. Coming up next, some Plano Community Difference.
Tune in to watch our communities grow. See how our citizens, local governments, churches, small businesses, schools, and our local sports teams are coming together and partnering to make the difference. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Community Difference, Plano, Texas, with your host Nathan Smith, and powered by the Difference live stream radio and podcast. So if you love your community and you love supporting the folks and businesses that make your community so special, then we invite you to like, follow, and subscribe to our pages, and then tune into each show to experience the Community Difference.
Good afternoon, and welcome to Community Plano. I am your host, Nathan Smith. We have a great show for you as we've gotten open. Very excited to be here. Got a lot of wonderful guests. One of the things that is exciting about this time of year, lots of things. So fall is like my favorite time of the year, and like me and all other women, I think is what it is, because it's like pumpkin spice latte and all the fall colors. Not to lump all women in one group, that's not very nice, but it seems like women get excited about the fall colors and the decorating and all that, and I'm like, well, I like that too, so I don't know what to do with that, but I know Starbucks starts selling a pumpkin spice latte at I think August 1st or something. I don't know, it's way early, but I finally had my first one the other day, and it was perfect, which is delicious. And so fall is in the air, thank goodness. The temperatures reflect that. We'll do a quick weather check here. 85 the high today, 50 at the overnight low, and nothing but 80s and 70s is the high, and lows in the 50s and 60s. Fall, I think, is officially here, but I wouldn't put it past Texas to sneak up like a third summer. We like to do that occasionally, so hopefully that won't happen, but we'll just have to see how that goes. So lots of exciting things going on. We're going to hit a little bit of high school football before we get started. I know that's a big topic, not only for Plano, but just Texas in general. Love this time of year. Obviously, other sports, Cowboys start getting the Halloween parties, and before you know, it's going to be Christmas and Thanksgiving. So just really my favorite time of the year. So I'm very excited about the guests we have on today. I think very important information that we're going to go over. But before that, I want to bring in Brian Poduska. Brian, first of all, how are you doing today?
Hey, Nathan, I am doing fantastic for a Tuesday. Just happy to be on your show. Thanks for the quick pop-in. Always great to see you.
Absolutely. One of the things that we've been excited about is your show, Real Talk with Jessica, which is a first name, and it's the first sports show on the Difference. It's now, I think, the 6th or 7th week. I think you guys are doing this now, something like that, and it's really gone. Jessica had some really good guests. I wanted to bring you on just to promote that, but just a little bit to talk about a little bit of Plano High School football, and then we'll go into some of the guests that you guys are going to have here for the first part of the show. So a couple of our guests this morning, or this afternoon rather, are, I believe, Plano Senior High alums. So we're going to be excited about this. So Plano Senior High, they started out a little slow, 1-2. They won their last 2 games versus Plano East and Plano West. They beat Plano West 30-17 on Friday. So they're now 3-2. So they bounced back pretty heartily. Unfortunately, Plano East lost their second in a row to I believe they lost to Hebron. And then Plano West is going to be playing at Hebron this year, or this coming week, and Plano East is playing at Flower Mound. So pretty much, for the exception of Plano West, unfortunately, they're at 1-4. But Plano East and Plano Senior High are kind of neck and neck there as far as division or district record. So that's pretty exciting. And you got to talk to the head coach of Plano Senior High, I think it was 2 weeks ago, before their big homecoming matchup. Just recap that real quickly. One of the things that we learned from that show is their their kind of motto, their culture, if you will, Plano Senior High football program. Share that with us if you would for just a second.
Yeah, no, we had a great time. We had Coach Todd Ford on from Plano Senior. Heading into their big game against Plano East, and it was great to get to know Coach a bit. And he has a great history. He's rebuilt programs from the ground up. So him coming to that program, his motto is first class everything. So that's his underlying culture that he instills in the team. But that's both on and off the field is his his guidance to the kids and the players that he coaches. And he also talked a bit about that instilling that culture across all the levels of the program. So it's not just at the varsity football level. It's going down into the middle schools and really instilling that program, the playbook, that mantra, that culture all the way throughout the entire system. So I thought it was great learning. He had great input too. We talked a little bit about the Alabama, the A&M versus Arkansas football game that was coming up that week. So he weighed in on that a bit. He stuck around with us for the entire show. So it was great to have him on as a guest. And kind of what we do on the sports show is have exactly like that, local coaches with a relevant game usually coming up for the upcoming weekend. Have them talk about their program, have them talk about what they're doing in the community, which kind of ties in with what you guys are doing on your Community Difference show. So it's always awesome to have that local perspective and then just see how they go about instilling their programs in the different schools that they're at. So we've had Coach Lee Wigginton on with Allen. We had them on in the beginning of the season for our inaugural show, our kickoff show, when they were playing St. John Bosco. We had the head coach of St. John Bosco on as well. So that was they're the nation's number one team currently, and at that time they put a pretty good whooping on Allen. But so we've had great guests, always entertaining to have the local coaches on and get a little bit of local flavor into our sports themed show.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on last week. Get a chance to talk a little Cowboys. They've been on a nice little run with the backup quarterback lately, so it's always fun to keep tabs. They're probably the most frustrating fan base. I hear this from non-Cowboy fans that they're like the most frustrating fan base. That's why my father hates the Cowboys because he came out to Abilene Christian in the 70s, and basically he grew up a Redskins fan, but he didn't hate the Cowboys, and now he hates them. So I guess we're tough. But I feel like that's all fan bases. I mean, most sports fans are fair weather fans. That's just the bottom line, in my opinion. So, who do you guys have on the show this week?
We've got a couple things in the works. We talked last week. It teased out again, going back to the number one team in the nation right now, St. John Bosco. They are playing the number two team in the nation, Mater Dei, out in California. So trying to get a little bit of hype going with that game and some local interest there. We may have a local coach here. We're scouring the schedule and when we can get folks on. That's a challenge. So we're on every Thursday at noon. We go live. So we will pre-tape an interview if we need to. A lot of these head coaches are pretty busy right around lunchtime on Thursdays. So schedules are moving around a little bit, but hopefully we'll have a little bit of local coaching flavor on the show. Our format, we're going across all different levels of sports. We've already talked about the high school aspect. We'll get some fans on from local or local interest colleges, right? Or college big games coming up in NCAA football. So we've had some good banter going on in the past shows there. And then like you jumped on for some Cowboys talk last week. We'll talk NFL. So we run all different levels. We do like to have the local flavor as far as the high schools go, and love to have those high school coaches on. So, look to do that more. And we were talking before the show here, if we can get some more Plano specific high school football, we'd love to do that as well.
Now, are you going to make any room in your show for a local curling section? That seems to be just kidding. That's not the worst.
My son plays hockey, so I probably could get some curling.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing. I'm sorry to all the listeners that are curling fans, all 2.5 of you.
I
So
was going to say, I don't know if you have any, but hey.
probably zero. I'm sure it's difficult, but it looks like sweeping ice. So that's, I'm sure that's a very ignorant statement. I'm sure it's very hard, but I can't get excited about it. So, well, Brian, man, thanks for jumping on with us. That's Real Talk with Brian. Hopefully, I'll be able to pop on. They've had a great show, great sponsors, great guests, great opportunity to just talk sports. We love talking sports. DFW now has 3 sports radio stations, and now another podcast and another live stream. So just we're a sports town for sure. Now we can just start winning some championships. That'll really help us out. So we'll see how that goes. So Brian, thanks for popping on. Make sure you guys check out Real Talk with Brian Baduska, the hottest new sports show in town, on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Brian, good talking with you, man. You have a great week.
Dude, appreciate you having me on, and watch out, Ticket. We're coming for you.
Yeah. Have a good day, Brian. Talk to you later. All right. Well, we're going to dive right in, guys. We're going to talk with Linda Adler. I mentioned in the open the Plano International Festival. And I'm really excited about this because I've been a Plano resident now, I think, for 5 years. I guess it's just now 5 years. And I had never been, as I didn't know about Plano, so I feel like bad, but I'm excited to be able to talk with her. And I'm a big history culture person, so I can't wait to hear more about this and the history. But so we're gonna just, we're up 4 minutes till we have our first break. But I'm gonna bring in Linda. Linda, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you, Nathan?
I'm great. Thank you so much for jumping on with us. First of all, talk to us about your connection specifically with just Plano. How long have you lived in the area? Just kind of your history. What do you do? What do you do for work outside of your coordination of the festival?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in Plano since the mid 90s, believe it or not. I came to work at the old EDS, Electronic Data Systems, Ross Perot's company. And so it's gone through many, many changes since then, and I've worked at a few other places. So now I'm at a tech company that is kind of an offshoot of the old EDS organization. Used to be part of HP, then HPE, now DXC Technology. So that's my day job. But I spend a lot of time.
I feel like EDS was the best marketer of mouse pads for a long time. I feel like everybody I knew had an EDS mouse pad, but they didn't know what it meant. They just said, I saw them everywhere. It seemed like it was crazy.
Yeah, it was so marketing. Iconic.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
so you've been playing that's close to 30 years. It seems like
it is long time.
What brought you to the city?
So to work at EDS. So I'd been in Arizona prior to that, in grad school, and then came here for EDS. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now that you're here, obviously you came here for a job, but jobs keep you around, which is a good thing. But really, the community itself is what, or a big part of what keeps people in an area. What is it that you love about Plano? Where do you like to eat? Just talk to us about what makes you want to be involved in the areas that you are in a city like Plano.
Yeah, I mean, I love the schools. The schools are wonderful. I have 3 kids. My youngest is now at West, and so I've experienced, the schools throughout the years, and they've just been fantastic for our kids. And also, I love the people, and it's so incredibly diverse. You may not realize that if anyone is new to Plano, and even if you've been here a while, I mean, you can really see the diversity in the community. And that's one thing that I really love about it. And so we have all the benefits of that. Restaurants of all different kinds. You can eat and any kind of cuisine you'd like to, and change it up every day if you'd like, and eat, not the same thing for like a month maybe. So that's an amazing thing about Plano. And when my kids were in school, and my daughter right now as well, at least well over half of the folks in school, the students, are of minority populations. And so it's not something that you see necessarily in all pockets of Plano, but in many of them, it definitely is the case. And so we have people from all over the world here in Plano for many reasons: the companies, the culture, the weather sometimes. And so it's just a great way for everyone to get together. And so that's why we have the festival. That is one of the main reasons, to just celebrate all of the different cultures here. And I don't look or sound like it, but I'm actually an immigrant. And so that's one reason I'm very passionate about helping to put on the festival every year.
That's awesome. Where do you hail from, as they say?
Germany. I was born in
Okay.
Germany. My family's completely German, and we
Oh,
immigrated when I was
beautiful.
tiny, so no accent or anything, but I still speak German.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
German is like I know it's not the hardest language to learn. I think it's like Mandarin or Cantonese, but I feel like just the way it sounds like it's difficult. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Yeah.
that's my
Some of
that's
the sounds are a little tricky, but there's so many words that are the same. The words for hammer and butter and music, they all sound the same. There's Hammer,
that's
Musik, Butter, and they're spelled the same in many cases. So
is
there are a
it a
lot of
Latin
cognates.
is it a Latin root still language or
No, it's Anglo-Saxon roots. I don't know. I don't know what you call it, but
okay.
it's not a Romance language, so it's different
Okay.
from French and Spanish and Italian.
Yeah, I know being talked to romantically in French sounds different than Spanish. I mean German, I mean. So
Yeah, German is different. It depends on the tone of voice you have, and it can
that's
sound very soft and pleasant. So it just depends.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to dive into we're going to take our first commercial break, Linda, and then when we get back, we'll dive right into the festival and want to hear all about it. Looking forward to that. So, guys, stick around. We'll be right back on the Community Difference Plano.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Are you in the market for a new or used car or truck? Then contact Derek Wallets at Sam Pack's 5-Star Ford in Carrollton, Texas today. With Derek's 20-plus years of experience in automobile sales consulting and Sam Pack's 42 years of exceptional service in the DFW community, you will quickly understand what it means to experience the Sam Pack difference. So give Derek and Sam Pack 5-Star Ford a call today at 972-299-0028 or email him at dwallets@sampack.com.
WeatherTech General Contracting. We make your home renovation dreams a reality.
Metroplex Delivery is DFW's premier restaurant delivery service. Metroplex Delivery brings premium restaurant food right to your door. Metroplex Delivery offers uncompromising white glove treatment. Launching in McKinney and Allen. Give Metroplex Delivery a call at 469-505-0844 or online at www.metroplex.delivery. And by
Alan Lester, branch manager and team lead for the One Group, a branch of Town Square Mortgage. With over 22 years in the mortgage lending industry, Allen and Town Square Mortgage have many loan program options available from conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, jumbo, and many investor and self-employed programs. So if you're looking for the best in the business, give Allen a call at 214-681-0234.
If you would like to know how you and your business can sponsor this show or others like it, please contact us at info@thedifferenceradio.com. And now back to the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to Community Difference Plano. We were just getting ready to dive in with Linda Adler. Linda, let's talk about the festival. And starting off, just give us the background. I know this is, I think, it's 19th annual. So
It's
how
our
did it get started?
18th.
18th? Is it 18th?
18th
So
year.
talk about how it got started and just kind of who brought that into fruition, and then we'll dive into this year's festival and some things people think.
Sure, yeah. So it started back in 2005. And the genesis of it is quite interesting. It was the brainchild of a group that was formed by former Plano Mayor Pat Evans. She formed an advisory board to the city council called the Multicultural Outreach Roundtable. Back in, again, 2004, I think the group was formed. And this was to gather together views from the diverse residents of Plano, because as we discussed, Plano is super diverse, just to get their input into the workings of the city and the city council, because those voices weren't necessarily always being heard. And so the very first initiative that they came up with was to host a festival where we can celebrate all of those wonderful diverse cultures and all of the amazing things that they have to offer. And so the first festival was held in 2005 and brought together people from all over the world who happen to call Plano home. And we feature all kinds of amazing things. One of the most moving things about it is that every year we start with a naturalization ceremony. And that's where we have naturalized over 700 people so far who have become
Oh,
citizens right
wow.
there in Haggard Park.
That
And so,
that is
yeah,
awesome. I bet that's a really emotional time. Like that
it
that
is.
excites me.
Yeah, it is, and I was naturalized when I was 13, so it's something that I look forward to as well. It's very very moving, definitely, to see people. They've worked so hard to become citizens, jumped through all the hoops, and there they are. And it's one of the only chances you have to see a naturalization ceremony outdoors, so that's quite special. So
Give us the date again, because I don't think we hit on that. I
Oh, I'm sorry.
apologize.
October 15th is this year's event. So
Okay.
we are going to be in Haggard Park. We had a hiatus for a couple of years because of the pandemic. And sorry if my cat makes an appearance here, but she's very curious. And so
It's okay.
there we go. So yes, October 15th in Haggard Park. We have multiple things going on. So the park is where the naturalization ceremony takes place and all of the different exciting stage performances and cultural booths. And then across the street in the Courtyard Theater, if people are familiar with that, we have our fitness and wellness fair. Well, fitness is across in the park, but there's a wellness fair where we offer free flu shots and COVID boosters and health screenings, all completely free of charge. All kinds of community providers are there. Plano Presby sponsors that, and they're giving out free flu shots and other things and doing all kinds of health screenings. And there you go. You can see the yellow on the left is where the Courtyard Theater is. And if you're familiar with Haggard Park, down off of 15th, and right off of Main Street, 15th in Plano, it's just a beautiful location. The DART station is on the right-hand side, and then you've got the Courtyard Theater on the other side of Avenue H. And to get over to the Courtyard Theater, you pass our food trucks, and that's always a very popular part of the festival. So we've got
My,
lots of great cuisine in store
my
for
wife and I
everyone.
actually we went there for a date the other night. We went to eat at Fillmore Pub, and then we just walked. We just took a picnic blanket and sat out there by the fountain and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
enjoyed the weather. It's really
yeah.
nice. So
It's beautiful.
beautiful
Hopefully the
park.
weather will cooperate.
Hopefully, it looks like it's going to be pretty dry for a little while. Hopefully, so. Well, this
Yeah.
is cool. Yeah, the last festival I went to, the Texas Independence Day Festival, which is the first one that I think Plano's ever done this past March at the park,
Oh,
and it's just a
okay.
great venue for big events like this. Um, if you don't know the specific answer, that's okay. But roughly, how many cultures or people groups are represented? Do you have a rough estimate on that?
Yeah, we typically say around 100 cultures are represented between all of the
Wow.
different areas. Yeah, and it's maybe not so surprising when you consider that there are about 80 some odd different languages spoken by parents in PISD, so super
80
diverse.
languages.
Yeah, and I that's maybe an old statistic. The number might be higher now. I don't know, but it's just incredible. So we draw people, and the makeup changes from year to year. So we have all kinds of cultures represented in our stage performances. So after the naturalization ceremony is done, and the people are from many different cultures who participate in the naturalization ceremony, then we have stage performances that focus on. We try to get a broad representation of all continents, not Antarctica. I always think of that. No penguins. But so we have dancing from Europe and the Americas and Asia. And then while all of that's going on all day on stage, people can browse all of the cultural booths that are all throughout the park along the beautiful winding paths with lots of trees for shade, so you don't have to worry about the sun too much. Um, and so between the naturalization ceremony, the stage programs, the cultural booths, we also have a flag parade where we have flags from many different cultures. I can't even count them. And those are, we have a flag parade before the naturalization ceremony. And then the flags are arrayed on that little patio that is kind of overlooking the pond area. So
Yeah,
beautiful display. It's just gorgeous. And so between all of those areas, we cover about 100 cultures. So
that's
that is
incredible.
something that you can't really find in one day in any other location. So we are the largest and longest running multicultural festival in North Texas. There have been others in past years, but they haven't, gone on for
What
too
are
too
the
long.
hours for the festival?
Yeah, so we kick off our fitness and wellness fair from at 10 a.m. The naturalization ceremony starts at 11, and then once that wraps up around 12, then the rest of all of the programs start. But the booths are set up by 11 o'clock, and all of the activities are already going by 11 o'clock. So people can definitely come at 11, enjoy the naturalization ceremony, come early to take benefit and advantage of all the great things in the wellness fair, and then, yeah, just spend a beautiful day in the park. It's gonna be gorgeous.
And then it goes into the evening.
Well, we wrap up at 5,
At 5, okay.
and yeah. But after 5 o'clock, well, actually, right at 5, we have a special program where we partner with the Plano Symphony Orchestra. So we're going to take people from the park and head on over to the Courtyard Theater again. So the wellness fair would have wrapped up. And so the Plano Symphony provides some string instruments to play music to international dances. And so, yeah, there we go, Dancing with the Symphony. That's our program. And so we'll have dancing from Ireland. There's Ballet Folklorico, which is absolutely beautiful, and some Bollywood dancing.
Oh, wow.
And
That'll be awesome.
yeah. So it is a benefit concert. So this is the only portion of the festival that requires a ticket. It is $25. They can be purchased at planosymphony.org. And the proceeds benefit the Symphony Scholarship Program. They fund multiple scholarships for middle school students to have private music lessons. So if they're in orchestra or band and they show great promise and they really want to continue with music, but they have some financial need, they can qualify for these scholarships. And I believe the symphony has awarded, not sure how many, but I think last year 17 scholarships or something. So they're doing an amazing job helping the community and giving back. And so we're partnering with them by providing the venue, and we provide some publicity for them. So it's just a great partnership, and it helps a lot of people.
Well, that's awesome, Linda, and I appreciate you building some excitement. It's definitely something that I may take my wife there the nighttime for a date night. That seems like a really cool thing to check out the symphony. And the weather should be great. And now I saw are y'all still needing volunteers? Is that like a infinite thing usually that they do like that?
Yeah. We can always use more volunteers. And if you go to the volunteer page at planointernationalfestival.org, you can sign up there in multiple areas. And yeah, we run on volunteers. The entire organization is volunteer driven. We have no paid staff. And so usually hundreds of PISD students come along and help us out. Also adults, scout groups, all different kinds of organizations can come and participate. We welcome anyone who wants to come and help on that day or help prepare ahead of time. Lots of opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Linda. Guys, make sure to go check out the Plano International Festival, the 18th annual. That is a week from this Saturday. It's going to be the 15th of October. The Wellness Center kicking off around 10 o'clock, and then everything up and rolling by 11. And they'll be out there till 5, and they'll kind of transition into the symphony benefit concert, the cultural symphony benefit concert afterwards. So it's going to be a great day to spend outdoors, just educating yourself and getting to experience different foods and cultures and music. So thank you again, Miss Linda, for coming out and coming on and really educating and helping build some excitement for that festival. And we hope to see you out there. I'm sure we'll see you around there somewhere. And we'll have you back on soon to talk about some other things. I know you kind of had your hand in a lot of stuff going on in Plano. So we'll definitely have you back on to talk about some things throughout the year. So
sounds good.
Thank you again, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks.
All righty. All right, guys, we're about to hit our second commercial break here in just a moment. Before we do, I want to bring in for about 2 minutes before we jump on. I'm going to bring in Rick Cinclair, and I think did we lose Marshall? We might have lost Marshall for a second. Marshall Jackson, but we'll wait for Marshall to get back on. Yep, he's not there. Oh no. But Rick, you're part of the Future Forward Planning Committee for Plano, and before we dive into that and really the specifics, I know you and Marshall both are longtime Plano residents. I know you were probably really in tune to the Plano Senior High football score that I gave. I'm excited about their 2 wins in a row. But just talk about growing up in Plano. Take about a minute and a half, and then we'll kick to our commercial, and we'll come back and really dive in.
Nathan, I appreciate that. Yeah, with the win on Friday night, that makes Plano Wildcats city champs. They beat Plano West, and they beat Plano East the week before. Both great games, both very exciting, very interesting.
I went to the homecoming game. It was a great game.
Yeah, this game was a lot like that in that Plano West actually had a really nice crowd. It was their, when they put their feeder schools, Shepton and Jasper were there, as well.
Okay.
But we moved here in 1976. I graduated from Plano Senior High in 1985. And then when it came time for our 3 boys to go to school, we moved back to Plano in 2002 in order for our boys to avail themselves of the great school system that we have with PISD.
That's awesome. So you, so you graduated from, I'm not going to ask you what you graduated, but you went to Plano. Did you play sports at all? Did you play football?
I did not. No, I didn't. No,
Now
I went to Sigler Elementary. I went to Houston Elementary. I was a Haggard Eagle. I was a Clark Cougar. Clark was split at the time. Half of us back in the day, the dividing line, there was no Plano West. Plano East was brand new, and the dividing line was Custer Road. And they would put paw prints on the telephone poles down Custer Road, and there would be white and maroon for Plano and black and gold for Plano East. It was the dividing line between the town. So
it was the proverbial other side of the tracks.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
But it's like my Clark went half to Plano East and half to Plano.
Now Clark, they just have a freshman football team right now. Am I seeing that correctly?
Yeah, they've changed. What they've done is they're moving, I think, the sophomore teams up to JV. At least they're doing it with basketball. I'm not 100% sure with football.
Okay.
Essentially, what they're trying to do is trying to give the kids more of a 4-year experience. There's lots of benefits of having a 9th and 10th grade campus and then the senior high campuses. But there's some drawbacks on that. People don't always get a 4-year experience and things, and they're experimenting with it.
Okay. Well, we're going to dive right in because I think what we're talking about today with some of the upcoming bonds that are available to vote on in November, I think is of just paramount importance. And I think you did a great job of presenting that in the school board meeting back in August, and one of the reasons why I want to have you on. So we're going to hit a quick commercial break, and then we'll dive right back into that topic with Rick Cinclair. And hopefully we can get Marshall back on here right after the break, so stick around.
Tired of that north of the border seasoning? Thinking there's got to be more than just salt and pepper to flavor your steak? Your brother-in-law yapping that he's the grill master? Here's your solution. Goodness Steak Seasoning. It's a blend of 9 unique herbs and spices that'll have your mouth saying, goodness. What was once just for steak night for the family is now being enjoyed by thousands of families across the USA. Grab a bottle or two today at Ham's Meat Market off the square in McKinney, Profound Foods in Fairview, and at bringthetasty.com.
All righty, guys. Welcome back to Community Difference Plano. As always, I love to, our sponsor, Goodness Steak Seasoning, love to type that, our good buddy Jason below. I found another use for it. I put it on my avocado toast the other day, and it was amazing. So I've yet to find anything. I wouldn't recommend putting it on cereal. That would be weird. But pretty much any vegetable or meat, it's fantastic. And so great story behind Goodness Steak. So make sure you check out bringthetasty.com. We're going to jump right back in with Rick Cinclair. Rick, did you happen to get in touch with Marshall? Did his phone die? Or
I called Marshall. He's trying to log back in.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll get back into that in just a moment. And so I'm gonna share a little bit of information while we're talking. And so I know you guys headed up the bond proposals for 2016, and not going into too much detail on those, but how did you, how were you chosen? Will you just kind of take this to yourself, decide, hey, we want to head this up? How did you and Marshall get involved in really being the face of the Future Forward Committee and kind of pushing these really, I think, very vital proposals?
Sure. No, and I'll tell you what happened is David Stolley, the president of the PISD school board, contacted Marshall and asked Marshall if he would be interested in being a chairman. Marshall suggested that I be co-chair with him. We did a lot of work on the 2016 bond proposal. And as I say, been here for a long time and we're big PISD supporters. So they asked us if we would be interested. We had Marshall and I had a lunch meeting with Dr. Teresa Williams and Sarah Bonser. Sarah Bonser was the superintendent at the time. And the first thing she said to us was, Marshall and Rick, we are a district of excellence. And that was all I had to hear. I was in. I went back, the tradition of excellence is what it says on my diploma. And when I heard that's what we were after, I was all in. Essentially, what they were looking for is each board member nominated 3 people to be on a committee. We had a 70-person committee. The committee was representative of really all walks of life of Plano, all areas of the city, people with kids, people without kids, people that used to have kids in the district, clergy people, business people. The Chamber of Commerce, was involved. And additionally, we had a number of PISD staff members that showed up. And this was about an 8-month process that we went through, considering what the needs of the district were, and then trying to match that up with what our financial capabilities were.
Well, we do have Marshall. Marshall was able to jump back in with us. And I want to, if you want to unmute them, Marshall, you mentioned that he was asked by the president of the school board. And, Marshall, you and I talked a little bit before the show. Some of that probably had to do with the relationships that you've built over the last, I think you said your family's been in Plano for 50 years, but just you were not on when I talked to Rick about kind of his history in Plano, but just give us a little background. I know you said your parent, your mother, father, a lot of people have served on school boards and city council.
Well,
You've been in Plano a long time.
we moved to Plano back in 1970, and matter of fact, I met my wife in the second grade here at Plano. So we've been a part of Plano for many years. My father served on the city council back when in the 70s, when they built Clark Stadium, and that was a joint effort between the city of Plano and Plano Independent School District for a mixed-use facility. And then through the years, I served on the PISD Education Foundation, and I was also co-chair of the Plano Alumni Association. My wife served on city council here in Plano. So we because we're heavily and deeply rooted into Plano, one of the things that was always instilled in us and growing up was to give back to the community that you live in, and try to make it a better place, for then and future generations. So we love PISD. I graduated from Plano Senior. My wife did. We were class of '82. Both our children graduated from Plano. And it's just been a tremendous experience growing up here in Plano and being able to go through the Plano Independent School District for us.
That's really cool. We talked about this. We've talked about this with Shelby Williams, one of the city councilmen in Plano, good friend of the show, and of course, who we got connected with you guys, Angel Powell, one of the board of trustees for the city of for Plano ISD. One of the things that we I don't know if harp on is the right word, but just try to bring attention to is, your local jurisdiction impacts your life more than national politics or national news, and being able to put more emphasis on your own community. Like you said, you grew up wanting to learning or knowing that it was right to give back to the community and be involved. And that's where you do business. That's where your livelihood is in a sense. And so having an impact on what goes on in your city is very important. And I think a lot of people just don't think about that, right? And our news cycle and stuff is designed to keep us focused kind of on a national level. But man, it's so more, I think, more fulfilling, honestly, to give back locally and be involved locally and know what's going on locally than other arenas of input. If that makes sense.
You're exactly right, and the PISD and in Plano in general, being a city of excellence, everything in and around Plano for many years, going back through the growth years, people used to come from all over the state and look at what Plano had in terms of their school district, and we were always on the cutting edge. We always had the best facilities, the best buses, the best technology, the best of everything. And then over the years, it's just kind of things were expensive, and the political climate was not one that bonds. It was harder to pass bonds, even though I think over the last 100 years we've had 26 bonds. Rick, and correct me if I'm wrong. We've asked the community to step up and vote for the bonds 26 times, and each and every time the community has stepped up, because it is important, to keep things updated and to, give our teachers exactly what they need to do their job, and that's produce the best student that we can produce. That's our future, coming out of our school district. So, we want to have the best things, to those teachers, the resources in their classrooms and the facilities and everything it takes to produce an excellent student. We need to give those teachers everything that they need so that they can do their job, and passing these bonds are extremely important. Every school district in the state of Texas has to have a bond at some point or another, just because of the way school districts are funded. They're only funded two ways. You either get INS tax or you get M&O tax. Everything else that it takes to repair a school, to update a school, to make a school safe and secure, that all comes from bond money. And sometimes people don't realize in the community that you have to have bonds in order to do these things and keep your schools updated and safe and secure, and and also with new technology. So
for the layperson, Marshall, can you, those two acronyms that you threw out there, can you just quickly give?
Okay.
Yeah.
So M&O stands for maintenance and operation.
Okay.
So the state, the school district will submit a budget each year to the state. And they'll say, okay, what is it going to take this year in your budget, or what do you think it's going to take to operate and maintain our district? And there are a lot of moving parts in a district. Another form of funding is called INS, and that stands for interest and sinking. So that's your debt service. Okay, so the state of Texas is going to give PISD M&O money and INS money, and that's what they operate on an annual basis. Everything else that if your school has some major renovations that need to be done, that comes in the form of a bond.
Okay.
So you have to have a bond in order to update the facilities. So it's highly important that you pass bonds. During our growth years, there were some years we had a bond every single year because they were building new elementary schools and new schools. As the community kept growing, we were having to build schools almost every single year, multiple schools every single year. So we'd have a bond every year. Then it kind of stretched out over 6 years, and then we went to 8. So it's been a long time, since we've had bonds. And the important thing about it is schools are on a rotation. Everything that's in a school district, schools, school buses, cafeteria equipment, everything's on a rotational basis. That way you're not trying to fix everything at once. When you have 73 schools, 93 facilities, you can't do it all at once. It's
like a car maintenance schedule. You kind of do different things.
Exactly. Times. So you have to have a bond. Well, we've gone a long time without a bond, and in 16, I think the bond, Rick, was what,
$483 million.
$483 million. That bond should have been $900 million. Okay. Because of all of the things, we kept kicking the can down the street to save the taxpayers money, but what was suffering was our teachers, our staff, our kids, because they were going to schools that were out of rotation for updated technology and teaching equipment.
Well, let's talk about that actually real quick. And Rick, I'm going to let you speak to this. I think one of the things that I think people will appreciate is the way that you guys have divided these up, really 5 separate bonds. And obviously the goal is, that you hope all of them pass, but I think people can kind of see different things that they may feel passionate about or that they may have a connection with. And so if you just want to, we're going to go to break here in a couple minutes, and then we'll really the last 15 minutes we'll be going through some of these slides, but talk about just a little bit of each one of these and why they're important before we hit our last break, if you would, Rick.
Sure. Well, and Prop A, the first one, we got 5 props, A, B, C, D, and E. Prop A is the Vader.
I like that.
It's a different Vader. There's no James Earl Jones. But essentially what Prop A is what we need in order to balance the budget. We're about $9 million short. Prop A is critically important to the district. This is where raises for our teachers are going to come from. That's critically important that we've got the best teachers. We've got a fantastic curriculum. We've got to keep those teachers happy in order to be able to continue to feed that tradition of excellence that we have.
That helps us stay competitive with the districts around us. So teachers would leave our district, go to another district to the north or south or east or west for for a few $100s more in their paycheck. Well, I understand that in these economic times. So this helps us retain our talent because we have some excellent teachers.
Which is why the district has been so good for so long, because it has
exactly.
good teachers. And I think the second one, of course, will be Prop B is going to be important to a lot of people. I know that, you coming out of the tragic shooting in Uvalde, I know that the school district got together over the summer, and I think they talked about this a little bit in the meeting that you guys presented to, that there is a third party kind of inspection, or just kind of going through each school and going through different safety measures and seeing where the loopholes and the gaps are. So I'm assuming some of this proposition will help fund some of those shortfalls, or help with school safety in that regard, and maybe some changes structurally that need to take place.
Yeah, I'll address this one if I can.
Sure,
Prop B is really what I'd call the bread and butter. This
Okay.
is really what you think of when you think of a bond. All right. There's a $1,172,000,000, almost $1,173,000,000. This is where, as you say, yes, there's $52 million in here for safety and security. $12 million of it is already earmarked specifically as to where it's going to go. $40 million is what the committee thought was a fair number to address. As you said, we are having an outside private group look at our safety and security to make outside recommendations as to what else might we do? How can we be safer? How can we be excellent and top notch with regard to our safety and security? So there's $52 million in there to make sure that when people drop their kids off from school, we're doing all that we can to make them safe.
That's awesome. We're going to hit the last three. We're going to hit our last break, and then we'll go through the last three, and then a couple other really important slides we want to go over here. Guys, stick around. Rick and Marsh will be right back with us on the Community Difference.
The difference is made possible by the following small businesses.
Real property management focus. An unmatched level of service to property owners, investors, and tenants throughout the DFW Metroplex.
Katie Owen, the insurance gal, helps overwhelmed Medicare-eligible people successfully navigate the enrollment process. When turning 65, retiring, and signing up for Medicare for the first time, it can be confusing. So it's important to get guidance from someone you can trust. Katie helps her clients navigate the enrollment process in a way that eliminates the feeling of being overwhelmed and unsure, and leaves her clients feeling relieved and confident. If you have questions about the Medicare process and want advice from someone you can trust, reach out to Katie at 972-943-3943 or at her website, www.insgal.com.
When you need a trusted roofing company on your side to help you out with storm damage repair for your roof, call Cook DFW Roofing. Serving Anna, Melissa, Princeton, Prosper, Van Alstyne, and all of the DFW area.
Red Branch Realty and owner realtor Ashley Gentry are true champions at every level. As a top producer, Ashley Gentry and Red Branch Realty truly embody their mission of being your supporter and partner in your personal real estate journey. So if finding the best representation possible in achieving the American dream of homeownership is important to you, give Ashley a call at 972-342-1869.
For more information about our sponsors and their services, or if you would like information on how you and your business can partner with or sponsor this show, or others like it, just check the show description or comments for the relevant links and contact information. And now back to the show.
Alrighty, guys, we're going to jump right back in here, and I actually scrolled to a different page here because it actually shows the amounts that you're talking about. And you mentioned that the Prop A Decision A was just really more of a catching up from a budget standpoint. So this is going to show us B through E, and I think we left off at C. So take it away, Rick. Walk through instructional technology. I think we have a pretty good idea what that entails, but just talk about that for just a moment.
Sure. And what Bond C is $173 million for instructional technology. What is that not? That does not mean that we're having computers teach your kids. Okay. What it means is, how old is your laptop? My laptop's a year old that I've got. I'm lucky if they make it to 4. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How old is your iPhone or your phone or whatever? The technology has to be updated. We can't have kids using old technology that isn't able to utilize, the best programs. So we've got $173 million. That should cover us over the next 6 years for laptops, iPads, those types of things. Think of that as technology that you hold in your hand or that moves around with you.
And then I know the event center is obviously self-explanatory, but that's probably, when I saw that, I was very excited about that. What are the details there? What does that entail?
Rick, can I jump in on the event center?
Please.
Okay, the event center, in my opinion, and when we talked about this as the community task force, the reason that the event center came up, it kind of morphed into the event center. We're out of space at all three high schools in terms of gym space, and we're just completely cannot house anymore. We can't host tournaments. There's not enough space in the gym to handle all of the things that happen in a gym. So we looked at new gyms for all three high schools. Okay, something like similar to like an Allen, where you have kind of an arena type thing for basketball tournaments, drill team, all of those things. Well, we're landlocked at one of the high schools, so it was just not feasible. I think the cost of those arenas at each high school was like $73 million. So if you built three of them, it came out to $210 plus million. My math may be wrong. So we got together and we decided, what if we had an event center that all three high schools could use, the district could use, and we could make it a mixed use facility and maybe partner with the city as well for events. What this allows us to do, and everybody got super excited about this because it gives us a place to graduate. Right now, we're graduating in Frisco, we're graduating in Allen, we're graduating all over the place at a cost to the district of about $100 and something thousand per graduation. This will give us a place that our kids go to school in Plano and they graduate in Plano. It also gives us a place where we can hold convocation every year for our teachers. Right now, we have to Zoom, or they have to go do it individually at each individual school. It doesn't make sense. This gives us a place where all our teachers and all our schools can come together for one giant kickoff at the beginning of the year. It also will allow us to host basketball tournaments, drill team competitions, robotics competitions. We can partition off the event center floor. We can have science fairs. It just gives us an opportunity to not have to go out and rent spaces outside of the district to the tune of $400,000 or $500,000 a year. It lets us and allows us to keep everything right here in Plano. We can also rent it out like the Caldwell Center over in Garland, and it turns into a revenue producer now. So it gives.
That's kind of what I was thinking in my mind, that if it was kind of similar to that, because that's a great facility.
It's Garland. A great facility, and the great thing about it is PISD. You need about 19 acres to do this. PISD has the land, so it solves a lot of problems and saves the district money from having to go out and rent facilities to hold events outside of Plano. And think about it too. If you're doing a basketball tournament or a robotics competition or science fair, people come to Plano to shop, to eat, to sleep, to hotel, for these events. So it really has an economic impact to the plus side for Plano by having this thing. So this is an excellent thing for PISD.
Yeah, that's great that you brought that up, Marshall. We're looking at an 8,500 seat event center, and you're right. Nobody has really studied what the economic impact would be. Really, what we've looked at is we've looked at the pride of other districts around us have similar things. This is what we could do to provide our students with an excellent facility. But what really hasn't been looked at yet is what the economic impact could be on the community as people come in and spend time here and spend their dollars in Plano.
Yeah, and I think that just hearing that as a Plano resident, that excites me, because anytime you can have an event center where, one, you can bring in some revenue for the city, for the district, but just be able to host some larger events, it's very exciting. The fifth one is I think fairly self-explanatory. I know we can probably dive in a little bit deeper, but for the sake of time, there's a couple things that I want to get to. I think this part here at the bottom, total 1.4, almost 1.5 million. But explain this, because I think this bond will not result in a tax rate increase. I think people want to know at the end of the day, how is it being paid for specifically? And I know you guys mentioned voter approval tax rate election. Just talk about the tax structure and the payment structure. And I know Plano has been really kind of miraculous, is one of the things you guys shared about how you've been able to pass some of these bonds over the years without having a huge tax impact. Just walk us through how that's happening and what to expect this round of bonds, I guess, in November. And we'll just spend the rest of the time talking about that for the next 5 minutes.
Marshall, is it all right if I do a quick flyby on this?
Absolutely.
Nathan, I do want to touch on Prop E, and essentially, again, what that is that safety and security for our stadiums. We're looking at spending. If you go to the parking lot over at John Clark Stadium, it's just atrocious. It's actually going to cost us $12 million to repave that and to get rid of that, the situation we've got going on over there. We also, and this is very important and near and dear to both Marshall's and my hearts, is that we would put lighting up over at that stadium. That stadium is just dark as night. And, we've got 17 and 18 and 19-year-old drivers, coming out, and we just feel like it's not safe. So we want to spend some money on that. There's a little bit of money for Tom Kimbrough Stadium to put up a fence. And then we would, there's money for turf. Our athletic department uses the heck out of our stadiums and out of our fields, and we've got to replace that turf.
Sure.
But to get to your bigger question, we've got one of our slides, and some of these slides are kind of dry, but it gets down to where we are on what our tax rate is in PISD. And our tax rate is actually, that's it, thank you, the second lowest in our county. And partly Marshall talked about maybe our bond should have been higher 6 years ago. Our district is very, very conservative and very, very frugal, and mines our pennies, our nickels, and our dimes, with regard to being good stewards of our taxes and of our tax dollars. They watch it like hawks, and as a consequence, we are in a position where we can pass a almost $1.5 billion bond without raising our tax rate. As a matter of fact, our tax rate is going to fall slightly. Our tax rate has fallen 17, almost 18 cents over the last 5 years. And that goes to the financial people that run our district. And that goes to the stalwartness of our trustees, that they're very tight with our checkbook. But they voted 7-0 that we need to send these 5 propositions to the voters, because we need to give our district some love with regard to our facilities.
And let me just say, when I saw this, I don't care if it's local, national, any government entity of any kind, you don't ever see less spending. It's pretty or more frugal spending. It almost always goes the other direction. So whoever's pulling the strings there is doing a phenomenal job, because that's just unheard of.
I will say this, our team in the accounting department, they're award winning. They go in and they will do everything that they can to accelerate the payoff of past debt, and I think Johnny Hill said at one point, if we don't do anything here, we'll be debt free in like 2 years, completely debt free. And some people are like, well, okay, let's just be debt free. But the problem is your schools and your facilities and your infrastructure is still aging. So you have to go out, like I said earlier, you have to have a bond in order to update facilities, keep the infrastructure good and sound and technology and all of that. But I will say this, when the school district or when the board set the tax rate, Johnny Hill was telling us it doesn't matter if the bond passes you're going to pay the same tax rate. If the bond fails, you're going to pay the same tax rate. In other words, the impact of this bond passing or failing doesn't change. Your tax rate is going to stay the same. So it's really a no-brainer.
It's kind of a no-brainer, yeah.
Exactly. From a community standpoint, man, let's just go out and fix up our schools. You know, people renovate their houses, they renovate bathrooms, they renovate kitchens, they want nicer things. We're not saying let's be over the top. Let's just get some things fixed that need to be fixed so that we give our teachers some excellent working environments where they can be happy and pass this bond so we can catch up what we hadn't fixed in the past. You know, it really is a no-brainer.
And I completely agree. You guys, we got to hop off here. We're at the end of our time. But would you guys be willing to come back on maybe the week before voting and just kind of do a last push? And just because I know there's still some stuff we didn't get to, just because there's so much around this. And I know you guys make bond discussion exciting. I don't know if I've ever said that to anybody, but for some people, they want to see the result, but they don't talk about the details. But I think the details are where everything happens, and you guys did such a great job of explaining it to the school board on that night on August, and such a good job of putting this information together and making it first of all the importance very obvious to citizens and to parents, but also just all the technical stuff not very technical, just makes it make perfect sense. So Rick and Marshall, thank you. Go ahead. Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Be happy to come back.
Yeah, if y'all stick around just for a second after the show, and I want to say, of course, thank you again to Brian Podeska. Thank you to Linda, and make sure you guys go check out the International Festival on the 15th from 11 to 5 p.m. in the park right there. I'm just totally blanking on the name of the park. That's terrible. But internationalfestival.org. And guys, stick around for next week's show. We're going to have a great show. But thank you to all our guests. Thank you to Rick and Marshall. Guys, have a great week. Remember, go out and make a difference. Do something small. The smallest act is going to make the biggest difference. Continue to be a part, to plug in your community, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning into The Community Difference. If you enjoyed the show, take something you learned and apply it in your community or your business in order to make the difference for someone else. Remember, the smallest change begins with a single action, but a single action can make all the difference. A special thank you to today's amazing guests. Also, if you'd like to be on the show to share your unique story and how it made the difference in your community, please contact Lendon Wilson at lendonw@thedifferenceradio.com. Until next time, this has been The Community Difference in Plano, Texas, hosted by Nathan Smith.